that area, this thing is, that's the proposal for Baldwin Community Center. That is it?
No, but I'm going to,
Proposal to replace, we asked for a proposal to replace the circuit breakers down there. And that ancient circuit breaker.
Yeah.
Some of them don't work, I don't know. Which ones I found. The electrician looked at it and agreed it probably should be replaced, and he also thought that the wiring down to the distribution panel in the basement should be replaced. So we proposed, what was it? 1241, I think. Which I don't think.
1200? Yeah, that's very good. Yeah.
And wire. I would move that we accept the proposal.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say, I think it's not significantly more than that, I was thinking around 21 and 24, I could
yeah,
be wrong.
2140,
Right,
printing off
21,
right
40,
now.
my two new boys right there, but even then, when I saw her, I thought it was a good deal. 21,
Yeah, I
40.
remember now, we don't pick that up on. Yeah.
I think that's a good price. On the second ball, we'll get it done.
Okay. County Regional Custom Supplement. Yeah. $500.
So tree growth penalty.
Yeah.
Yep, there's 21.
Okay, I mean, still,
Yeah. No. You.
that was fine, so quick.
I mean, I've seen people put 5 or 6 grand into a panel pretty quick,
Yeah,
so, guess it's kinda helping us out on that one.
yeah.
On all the electrical stuff on, Monday afternoon, back in the power plant second over, or something like there.
Do the generator?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
I think he let me turn the power off in here.
Oh.
Well, there's something.
Oh, no. Disability rights meeting letter. So we've got to do some labeling out the parking lot for handicap parking. Yeah.
know, the way I read it is we need two signs. We need the property.
Yeah. We need,
60 inches minimum above space. It requires land accessible designation. And it says number of spaces, 36, or fraction of 6 parking spaces required. At least one subdivision parking space. Total number of parking spaces provided in the parking facility.
you say 26 to 15? Rough guess.
Otherwise, it's still up to the front with a handicap.
That's what I was gonna say, right there. So we need 3 handicap.
That's what you think.
So the 6, you said, 26 to 50, so we need 2. One of those, why don't we just, knock them both? Yeah, that's what we're saying. Well, that's the sign that says Dana, that's cool.
And Chris says he's gonna repave that front entrance.
Yeah.
Monday.
So, yeah, is he gonna order the signs too for, I'll check with him. Pay rate for more in general soil position, which would be Randy. So, we can give him a raise from $16 to $20 an hour. I think it's worth it.
I think it's 16, Randy gets 15.
What was it, Robin? Randy gets 16 to 50. 16.
And the other part of it is the lane situation here, which is that
Yeah.
he was getting 2 different pay rates between the town and Chris giving him a raise. So, Debbie was splitting up, I think that's all the money in the cemetery at 20, and then he was getting 18 for all the money.
Yeah.
So, he didn't realize that it was split up, that the fund had a $20 raise across the board. So,
So the initial, the retroactive, I don't blame, right? Did we get a figure on? Because what I understood from the email was,
I don't know exactly what that figure would be, but if you agreed to that, then you would have to do the initial.
yeah.
Wow.
Well, you know, it's competitive wage nowadays.
It is, yeah. That was a cutie.
You don't have to pay them that much.
I get $20 a week. Yeah, and straight across the board for $20 an hour. Yep. On favor? Yeah, as far as retroactive though, what was the understanding when Chris gave him the raise? Did he specifically said, tell him that it's gonna be for both or just one? We don't know.
Well, he thought mowing was mowing,
Oh,
so it wasn't clear on anybody's part. You know, he mowed, so he figured he'd be making the same amount of mowing here as he would for the cemetery, which makes sense, but,
those are two different accounts though. Yeah, okay. Sign town warrant. Yeah, what are we gonna do about that mailing?
Well, I don't know. Obviously, there's a lot of them, when you deliver them to the post office, and stick them in the mail.
Yeah, there's always figuring that out.
What's the total bill, Robin? $5,000?
I think it's more than that when you add it all up. So just for the reports themselves, it's, 39, 49, 33, and then you've got the saturation mailing of 95, 22, the postage of 268, that's West Baldwin, another 94, 25 for East Baldwin, plus another 245 for the additional postage to mail them directly to people's, residences because of it being on Sebago route.
So,
That,
can we summarize that to mail them to everybody? And to take care of the issue with the East and North Baldwin issue, what the cost would be for the mailing?
so the additional postage, it looks like for East Baldwin would be, 94.25 plus the 245. I'm looking at that correctly. Because they're having to, label each of them individually on their end, and then it's additional postage, the postage is at 140 as opposed to 48.
Yeah, this one, so the cost for the West Baldwin mailing,
The West Baldwin, was, a total of 268.
268, and then to the east and north would be another 94 plus 245. Right? So that's 339 for the other, $600. Being mailed out to everybody.
There's another, saturation one that is, West Baldwin, so you add all of those,
Another 95.
yeah, if you want your total, with postage and handling for mailing purposes of the town report.
Right. It would be $6, or something, $102.
So the town report itself, all by itself, is just under 4,000. If we did the one at all.
Well, I think it's good to just look at the mailing issue separately. We're gonna have to get the printers anyway.
Right.
So if you wanna mail them for $700, or if you wanna somehow tell everybody to come get them here, and pick them up at Melissa's spot,
Probably be better.
can we leave a bunch of them at the post office?
Well, we usually do anyway,
Yeah,
but, I mean, $700 is extra to,
I think we should just have them mailed.
yeah,
I don't think people are gonna like to switch if they're used to getting them in the mail.
right, yeah. They're used to it.
All right, well, I would move that we have the mail, and we have the East Baldwin, North Baldwin addresses, about 40 rate or whatever it is. You get the mailing list, I mean,
update, what's going on, Steve?
Oh, wow. Well, hi. So, quite a bit, as you probably all know, historical record involvement of going to 4 active infrastructure fires in less than 10 days, including an explosion. So our resources that are already fairly limited were really stretched then, and I gotta say I'm very impressed with the way that everybody on the department was able to handle and respond to these incidents, because as far as I know, after doing all the cleanup, we still haven't broken anything. Usually it only takes 1 fire for us to break everything, and so this time we did pretty good. It's tough. That's a tough thing for Baldwin and even the surrounding departments to kind of handle. On the internet, in the fire world, especially on the Facebook world, Baldwin has definitely been in a bit of the limelight as a result of all of these calls. So, as you can imagine, since it's also my career job outside of here, I've heard a lot about it, but I just wanted to address it. Obviously, we, wanted to, after all of the attention that we did get just from the fire in Cornish that we had, the explosion definitely created some social media type of criticisms, attention. So I thought it would be finally appropriate that we kind of address it. We did, and I think honestly it was probably a good model for how Baldwin should move forward to kind of give out information for our fire department. I think sometimes people look at these incidents, especially we all know each other in town, they hear about their friend's house or they see their incident, and they kind of have a lot of questions end up. I know Jimmy has seen quite a bit of commentary on some stuff. I know, which is great. I mean, I think it's, listen, I love this community that we're all involved together, but, I think, it's funny, we never get that much attention, you know what I mean?
I know, yeah, right.
So, the explosion, there are certain things that, we're kind of limited in. If there's no fire problem or a life safety hazard, your fire department doesn't really do, we'll go to service calls, I'll help you with water in your elevator shaft and stuff like that, but, when it comes to a criminal investigation, that's up to the police, so that's pretty much where that all ended up, and everybody is safe from what we see and what we understand. So, I just wanted to address that. I do have finally some really, really, really good progress, obviously, whoever's been sitting here for a while, with me when I was a little bit more frequent here before I had my child. I had been working on, I had met with Senator Susan Collins a few times, and working on how to kind of develop a fire station. How do we build this fire station, right, that, Port City architecture kind of outlined for us back when, Bruce was the chief and, Scott has studied up for us, and we've had the Bureau of Labor criticize our structures and fine us for, their condition and the ability, we're constantly playing the catch-up game of, how do we keep this current and up to, basically up to the current regulatory standards that it needs to be. And it's cost us money, for years now. So for the last 2 years, I've struggled quite a bit trying to find grant money to figure out what to do, talk to contractors, see how much a build price would be, and we did all that. I recently came across, spoke with Chief Karen over in Standish about how they do some of their municipal financing for their fire department and their town. And obviously they're a much larger town with a much larger tax revenue base than we are, but our scale is smaller, and so I think it's at least worth the information to kind of give out to you guys and the people sitting here. And then me and Bob kind of had a short discussion on this on the phone a couple of days ago, just because I wanted to get a pulse on it and see how it would go over. So my endeavors led me to the Municipal Bond Bank of Maine, where I learned a lot. So this bank is a bank that supports municipalities in Maine by basically, I hate to use this term, but I don't really know the other way to do it, but crowdfunding, crowdsourcing their money. So they get a bunch of different banks, and they, twice a year, sell all of the projects that the Maine Municipal Bond Bank comes up with. And 2 times a year, in the spring and the fall, they issue the money that the investors and the banks want to fund. Newfield built a fire station this way. Standish funds their town every year this way. It's not what I'm suggesting, but it's interesting to see how much it's been used. For the people who weren't part of our research process, a new fire station as of last year, built to the spec that Port City Architecture is looking to build. It is roughly just over a $3 million build, which is a huge undertaking, right? So, when I looked into congressionally directed spending grants via Susan Collins, like what Chief Pelletier down in Limerick used to help us with building their fire station, they're not only extremely competitive, but they cap out at about like $1 million, $1.5 million. I think Westbrook, my career department, got $1.5 million to build this monstrous training building that they're going to be putting in over the next couple of years. So obviously that's still left, a little over $1 million in the hall of plate. I'm kind of like, well, that's still a massive undertaking. So what does it look like? So after speaking with the Municipal Bond Bank, they pointed me in the direction of a couple of law firms that do this thing called bond counsel. And so I asked the bonds person at Bond Bank, why do I need a bond counselor? And they're like, well, because you have no idea what you're doing. And I was like, that's fair, I don't. And that nobody really does, and that's why you need counsel. So I said, all right, let me reach out to one of these people, see how much counsel costs. Everything up front was like, we will just tell you how this all works. We will advise the town, we'll work with the select board, work with the townspeople, a lot of educational sessions, and she wrote me an email basically on what the steps are of doing this. Because to my knowledge, Bolton has never taken a bond in the whole history of the town, right? Yeah. So I know it's fairly new language. I just figured it's not long, but I'll kind of list out the steps that the bond counselor gave to me. The one that got back to me and was the most friendly was from Drummond Woodson, attorneys at law. They're in Portland, and this is the same bond counselor that the town of Standish uses yearly. So their steps are basically saying what we have to do and then what the role of the bond counselor is. So the first step would be, it's roughly a 3-step process. So you go to get town approval, which is the voters approve a bond issue at either town meeting or by a special town meeting like we discussed. It's a referendum, it is a town decision, which method to use, whether you want to do it by secret ballot, or just like voting meeting. Town meeting is slightly more streamlined apparently in the legal world, even if it's a special town meeting versus a secret ballot referendum. Yeah. I still think, just so you guys have an idea, what me and Bob spoke about was very similar to what was happening, I think, at least my understanding, with like the marijuana ordinance last year, which is we have an educational session where there's no decision to be made, just basically putting out the knowledge to not be like, hey, this is what we're thinking to do. We want to kind of think about what you guys would think about, get some knowledge, get educated, and next time let's vote and figure out if this is something that really fits us. So what the bond counselor does in the town approval process is help draft the warrant, question to be presented to the voters to ensure that it's sufficient to the bond purpose. Then it gets authorized by the select board, so after the voters approve the bond, the select board adopts a resolution to authorize the borrowing, and the bond counselor drafts the resolution for the select board to adopt. After that, it goes to the bond bank. So the bond bank, like I told you, has the spring and their fall sale when they issue and appropriate money. That in itself is a 2-step process. The applications for the spring are due in February, and so you're looking, even from where we stand right now, just the educational process of this, we're still 27 would be the earliest that we can look at this. I guess potentially 26, we really had our ducks in a row. So what the bond counselor will do is draft the preliminary and final documents for signature by the select board and draft our opinion that the bond has been duly authorized. What that means is that they want to just make sure that legally we're following the correct process when we tell this to the town people. Because if you've never gotten a bond and I've never gotten a bond, I think it'd be wise that we have an expert that kind of oversees the process and at least even just to educate us, So the bond bank, what they will do in the first step is they'll send us preliminary documents, loan agreements, the town to commit to borrow a certain amount, and then they basically just speak with the counselors, and then in the last phase, once they have everything, it's essentially it's very similar to the thing. You have your meetings, you have your closing, and then that's it. The bond, the bond is issued that either spring or fall, depending on when you start your application. So, how this kind of like, without me being here for an hour, we have implemented First Due, which is our new reporting and incident management software. It's spoken about it last year. It took a good 6 to 8 months, where they said it would take 3 months to get implemented, but it's fully implemented. It's been working it's better than what we foresaw, which is excellent. And the biggest thing that that First Due has done for the fire department is it's made our fire reporting much more organized and much more direct. Now, fire reporting is really important because every grant issuing organization, whether it be FEMA or a private organization like Stephen King, looks at your fire reporting to understand what your fire department does. And if there's no reporting, your fire department doesn't do anything. And your likelihood of getting the grant is very low. The more reports you have, the higher incidence you have, the less resources you have. They take in a lot into account. They're almost like an insurance company who looks at risk. So that being said, with all this fire reporting that we're doing, and our ability to have a little bit of a stronger case to develop to secure and get and apply to a federal grant, some of this I think can be offset. I don't think we need to bond the entire project. I think what we can do is use grants to offset some of our costs, but I don't see any of this really getting done without a municipal bond. I spent 2 years trying to figure that out. I like things are pretty decent businessman, so I can't really see any other way. But it's up to the townspeople. All I can do is provide the information, say this is what I think is best in the best interest of the future of the town, and get all necessary answers, questions about the account, to get all necessary information to put in everybody's hands. I mentioned it last time I think we spoke about this. It was almost a year ago already. I know you want to do that electrical panel. I'm all about it. I think that's a good price too. If I did my electrical panel, it was like $1,700, and so a commercial building for 21 is not bad. But maybe we should just build a municipal complex with that fire department. If you're loaning all this money and it's above, what you're trying to do, and it's more money than what you need for your build, and it's a large project that's supposed to be, a 50-year building, 50-plus-year building, just like the one we're in right now. I think it might be wise to look at it as a whole for our town. But let's just put it out there and get your feelings out. So that's really what I wanted to bring to you guys today. We'll continue to dig and figure out how we can stay out of the Bureau of Labor's naughty list, and also make sure that the future of Baldwin's emergency services and infrastructure is taken care of, because that is my job. That's all I got for you.
No, I think you're correct. I think Porter went through this when they built their town hall. Tri-Town did a little bit of it. We have tax anticipatory notes. We've got one to put in scale and rebuild the trash bin areas.
Yep.
So, in essence, what you're asking is, will the town of Baldwin vote to commit themselves to a long-term bill?
Yep.
Annually, and that goes right up there as important as the school funding. It's #1 priority.
Yep.
And I think that the interest rate you get depends on what's considered the creditworthiness of the town.
Based on your median income comparison to the median income.
Well, I think it's more than that.
It is.
It's how well the town is managed.
Yep.
And one of those things that I harp on every year, but I really think that's a good way of measuring it, is
Mill rate?
Our uncommitted balance.
Yep.
You need to make sure that you've got enough money to operate for the next year and do any emergencies and whatnot. I think from the audit report that I read that we're doing okay, but it's a year old. So I agree. It's a huge undertaking. We talked to the gentleman who did our study for us. He said, remember, it went on for years and years and years, arguments among the people in town as to what to build, where to build, how much to spend. That is the hardest part, short of deciding what to do. Once you decide what to do, then you go find money. Because for every person in town, there's an opinion, at least one. And I understand the complexity of it. I was hoping that the solar farm up there would give us almost $1 million for it.
Yep.
that's gonna happen.
Yeah, one time, Steve, you talked about building a building out at the end of this building,
Yep,
and it'd be a lot cheaper.
I still feel the same way. I think it should go right there. That's what our Port City architecture, study says, basically.
So you just have a place at the house with the equipment, and then you're gonna have the offices in the old town office?
Yeah, I mean, I would probably, so are you asking more about like what the design, like what
Right,
what was proposed? So Great Falls Construction is, one of the companies that we met with to get like a basic cost idea. And Baldwin obviously has some really special cases, one of them being that we don't have city or town water.
Right.
And that any building, commercial building, you will now needs to be fire sprinkled. So the only way to deal with something like that is building a reservoir. So I had to talk to Kyle Estes about what it's like to build reservoirs and how much does that cost. And, so basically, believe it or not, that piece of land is probably like one of our best assets because it's in the right location according to Port City architecture study. It has the space, we own it already. I mean, that's the huge one. It has the space to not only construct the building, it has the right grade, the right, and it looks like it has pretty good soil test too, for being able to have reservoirs placed in. The Port City architecture, just to rehash it really quick, thinks that this is the most central location in town. That's what they look at. So for emergency services response, roughly equidistant east and west, and north really for our mutual aid partners would be at a bit of a disadvantage to the south, but we worry about Baldwin before everybody else, right?
The other important consideration, when the truck comes out, it can go downhill either way.
Yeah, that's true too. And with our current equipment, sometimes a hill is a good thing.
That's always been my concern, response time.
Yes.
Say you got a fireman up during the day.
Yep.
Which is gonna happen up in Norfolk, and there's a fire in Norfolk, they have to come down here, grab the truck and go back.
Yep.
So it's bound to delay the response time.
So response times are a complicated thing in Baldwin Fire Department. I've studied them quite a bit.
We're so spread out.
You also have no idea what you got.
Right.
One of them is dead. So just because that one day that North Baldwin fireman might be there, next day might not be.
Right.
I have no idea. I've rebuilt the way that we not only assign numbers, but the way that we communicate on the radio, so that I know what's coming. Not necessarily from another department, but what do I have here? So Chad has is like in the what's your number? 701. 703. 703. So he's a 70 number. I have to know that 70 is going to be giving me only fire, police, and traffic, right? Whereas I know if I get 2 digits, I'm going to get staff or Jake Bradley, our animal control officer, who can do fireman stuff. And if I get a car, I know that I can pass off a command, I have the next step. So every time I go to a response, I have no idea where people are coming from. I don't know what I'm getting until I'm listening to radio traffic and obviously now seeing it
Right.
first.
Right.
So I'd actually, after talking with Neil quite a bit, because I said the same thing. I said, why do you think it's wiser to have a centralized station instead of having a station on the east side of town? I said, why not put one on the west side and put one on the east side to make response times for those individual parts of town faster? And he said, yeah, that'll cost you twice as much money. And he's right. Because you're looking after 2 stations, you're dividing your resources in half, and you're not really going to make up for it. You can't, without people being on duty and having them on a shift, you can't promise that response time is ever going to happen. Of course, when Howard's home, when we have something at West Baldwin, super fast. Same thing with Stevie and Jake are home, but when they're not, and Howard's up to camp in Bethel, and Stevie's driving the Shaw Brothers, and Jake's taking care of somebody's dog,
First people on the slate are from some other town.
that happens. That is why our emergency services infrastructure for me is I don't use it lightly. It's a dire need. So, and it's a dire need of people, not only just a building. I don't think this building's not going to solve all these problems. But what it's going to do is it will eventually cut down on costs, because not only does it allow us to shrink the amount of fire apparatus we have in town, right? We don't need as many trucks if they're all in the same building.
Yes.
We don't have to take care of 3 separate buildings. They're all in, not up to current regulation. There's a multitude of reasons. So, do I think there'll be delays in some cases? Yeah, and in other cases, no. None that don't already. Yeah.
I'm just thinking of worst case scenario.
You should think of all the cases there, because when I, talking to the fire chief is one thing, and then I talk with the town person, I have to be next, I get it. And obviously I'm biased because this is the job I do, but at the same time, I'm not here to, I don't really think getting to like a fancy fire station is gonna do all that much for Baldwin Fire Department. I think getting a new fire station will do a lot for the town of Baldwin as a whole.
Yeah.
Financially and honestly more for development in the future.
Well, suggestion I've heard is bulldoze this whole thing.
I love it, but, try to keep my mouth shut.
I'm against it.
I love Jimmy. we'll figure it out.
The building's still structurally sound, it's
It is.
not falling in,
They don't like this one.
it's not falling down, I mean, it's
Not falling down.
still usable, and all it needs is some little bit of.
Some money. That's what everything needs.
Like anything else, yeah.
Time and money, that's all it takes.
The whole thing.
I do believe it's cheaper to maintain this one than just build a new town hall, but
Yeah.
it's not what you build nowadays. I mean,
No,
there's nothing up there.
right, no,
It
you're
goes
right,
right through there.
But
Right
that should
through
be-
the ventilation there.
that can be fair.
It'd be very expensive, what to do, but,
What's really, just like, I use, the train station for an example, it's a beautiful building, they tore it down, they put up a strip mall in there, and now look at it, it's a mess, it's a dump, it's too bad, and old buildings just are going by the wayside, and you tore them down.
we don't have to put up a strip mall.
I know that, but I use that for an example, it's a beautiful old building, and
But
nothing
Or-
wrong with it.
Portland would do something like that.
Rob and I walked around the other end of this building. There's a lot of work that needs to be done down there. The windows are gonna fall off the backside. It's rotten.
Yeah.
I can take my pocket knife and go all the way into the hill.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that,
If what you get when you're done is you get the same building, not one that's purpose-built for what the town needs. And, well, that's my thought on, if you save this end of the town for town offices and do something about it, might be a cheaper thing. And just put a fire station with bays
Yep.
in there, that
All
might
you
be
need.
the way to go. But I agree with Steve that something should be done, but it's a big move.
it is.
Oh, you do.
It's a big organizational effort to come to grips with, well, the first thing is to understand what the cost is going to be. I think you need to start with at least a design.
Yep.
So that,
Design is very expensive, as a thing.
designs are expensive,
Yeah.
10 to 15% of the project.
Yeah.
And, at least that's what they used to be. I don't know what they are now, but,
You're right on target, from what I've been educated on.
I mean, I used to do that for the Air Force, and that's what we paid, was 15% of the cost of the construction of the building to get a design.
Oh, when you're done.
Yeah.
Yeah, design,
And that's architectural, and then there has to be civil as well, for
yeah, you got.
apron and parking and all the things.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, if we build it wrong, BLS is right back here, and we're going to go to us.
And that's upfront money,
It is.
before you go out and get your bonds and all that. It would take a huge organizational effort. But towns do it. Eventually, Baldwin's gonna have to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I know the North Baldwin Station, that's 1947 was built, and.
All of them are, yeah.
It's old, efficiency is nowhere near what it's, a wood furnace, and then the upstairs is freezing in the wintertime, hot during the summertime, so you know there's no insulation up there, so, yeah.
The tough part is just the way that the Bureau of Labor looks at it, right? To me, it's like, in all honesty, it's a fire station, right? We don't have meetings in there. We have meetings here.
Right.
We don't hang out at the fire station. We do work details. We go in the trucks. We check them and we fix them, and we deal with all the fire equipment as well. And the stations, in reality, they're a roof over our head. It's fine. The problem is that when the government regulatory agency comes in and says, you need outlets, with GFIs, and you need this specific insulation, and there's mold there, and this and that, and you can't fix it because you're going to open a whole entire can of worms cracking open the ceiling in North Baltimore. You're
cracking open down here,
I know.
you and I sealed up on the outside.
So, we all get by that way, and that's just fine. I don't judge that. I live that same lifestyle. The problem is that this is a government entity, and and they come looking, and then they say, well, you didn't do it, so now you got to pay. So we should have just paid to do it in the first place instead of paying the fine. I think the biggest thing that is really driving this, besides the BLS, the list of Bureau labor, is the ability for us to purchase equipment. We built a really great CIP that we put into, we started last year, and that's gone over went over really well at town meeting. We're on a really good track. I actually was able to push purchasing a truck off for probably almost like 5 or 6 years to push it beyond the NFPA's recommendation, because I don't really think anybody's looking, and I don't think it's going to kill anyone. Yeah. Which gives us a lot more time to save money. But the problem is we can't buy the truck that's needed to do the job because it doesn't fit in the station. Right. And then where do we put it? And so if we just get stuck with our apparatus doesn't get any newer, right? So it just ages. And if you can't fit anything into your building, the whole entire thing just starts aging and aging and aging and aging. And you get to a point where it's not only out of spec, but it's not even providing a service to the people who are paying for it. Right. And that's the hard part, obviously, for me, right? It's my job to make sure that everybody who's paying is getting good service. Yeah. Yeah.
Project like that requires somebody with a long-term commitment.
Yeah. Yeah, we're gonna have a little talk after this too, so don't you worry. Yeah. I have some really good plans, but they're always just that, we don't know how that works, plan change stuff. Yeah.
Finland doesn't require individual organization.
I agree with you on that. Took words out of my mouth. Well said. I just want to say thank you for everybody too. I didn't need to hijack the meeting here, but thank you for listening. It's important stuff, and to be honest with you, I don't think I've ever worked on something for this long to figure it out in my life. So 2 years to get to just the knowledge is mind-boggling sometimes.
Going back to explosion.
Yeah, sure.
Anything official?
Yeah, I mean, like,
last time I know it was unfounded.
So yeah, which is too bad. I mean, like, I'm not so. I find also us in a little bit of like a legal bind too. So I can't go online and say this is the results of somebody else's investigation. I'm not a news reporter, and I would be potentially opening up the town to some not so good criticisms that way.
Still on the investigation.
That's what I would have to say, like, officially on a Facebook post for everybody to hear. The sheriff's investigated it. It's it's the burnout path, right? So everybody knows what goes on down there. It's a bunch of craziness, and we investigated it for fire, life hazards, and anything like that. There was none of that at the time, and basically they, from what I understand, shot a 55-gallon drum full of tannerite, which is why it was heard very far away. I'll be perfectly honest and say when I was a young 20s and teen, we used to flatten beaver dams with those things every once in a while, and we put 5 pounds in it, and it was expensive. 5 pounds is a lot. I can't even fathom a 55-gallon drum full of it. I can't even understand it. I don't know how they lived through it. I don't even know they have windows on their house. But yeah, I mean, I'm sure. I think he. Yeah, I think he might have been a little concussed when showed up. But yeah, it's just pure. Honestly, it's nothing illegal. There's no law saying you can't do that. That's the bad part. Scare the hell out of your neighbor. It's not very neighborly. So.
Oh yeah, it is.
Yep. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
He's going out to investigate.
Well, down with I see the whole town that day.
What's going on?
Yeah. I don't expect anything else. We're all concerned.
All right. Anything else?
Not right now. No, it should be all set. I think you get for listening to hear me out.
Okay. I'm gonna go to Sean. What's the update on Mr. Merrick? But he met with town attorney on Sunday.
Right, and we came up about the affidavits.
Okay.
Paperwork. And it was all filed for some money.
Okay, so it's in the, pretty much in the court there now.
Yes, and what we've asked for is a temporary restraining order, which would stop everything immediately. And then while the case is going forward, because the case itself is already taken up.
Okay.
As I usually do. So far, he has shown no signs of cooperation with us.
Yep.
Can't do too much to help somebody if they won't come and talk.
Right.
But, my understanding is they'll probably be served this week. And see what it is.
Okay. All right. Let's see, updates, we got, let's see, town office closed tomorrow between 11:30 and 1. Planning board meeting at 7, on Thursday. You got anything?
I just came to thank Dale for taking care of my sign problem. Although, a day later, there was another arrow sign put up. But I took it down.
Okay. We'll get them together. We'll get it done.
So I guess we're gonna have to keep an eye on it,
Okay.
because they keep appearing out of nowhere.
Yep.
I spoke with, Sheriff Joyce, who said he would have the area patrolled as much as he possibly could.
Yeah.
Even with the signs coming down, there are fewer ATVs.
Oh, really? Good.
And even if we do that, basically, what I want to do is cut down the speed.
Yeah,
That was the major problem.
yeah, oh, yeah, yeah.
But I'm assuming that probably up the other end of the road for the signs.
Understand all those and stuff.
At the end of Sam Pond,
Yeah,
I would imagine they have signs up there as well.
I haven't been up that end of the line now, so I don't.
I haven't been to that road for a couple of years now.
Right.
But it is much better.
Oh, yeah, that's, yeah. Besides, Mason.
And I spoke with the sheriff's officer Saturday because of the burn pit. I thought I was at Arctic Speedway all day. And the music was unbelievable
Really?
as well. I left my house and went up to the post office and I could not hear it.
Right, we was at the post office, I mean, at the library.
I know, that's what she said.
Yeah,
we
we-
here.
Well, we so much traffic going by there anyway, you can't hear damn thing. Yeah, no, yeah. It's
And
funny,
Gail said she could not sit on her dock because the smell of rubber was so bad.
it must be the air direction is going right towards your house.
It's gotta be.
Yeah.
It's like a magnet,
Yeah,
knocking it over.
yeah, right, yeah.
But Dawn's working on it, and I appreciate that. And eventually we'll get it settled.
Yeah, yeah.
It's appreciated all the information that was sent, it's quite a high, in addition to all the court activities. Appreciate everybody's patience, and I think we're not too far away from some kind of.
Great.
Mary, you have your hand up over there?
No.
Oh, I thought you were raising your hand.
No, I'm sorry, I was trying to,
Anything else?
no, that's it.
Joe?
Yes, we finally had a reply to our ad for administrative help,
Oh, good.
and I talked with Gal on the phone, and she's very qualified. And we asked her to come to our meeting Thursday night. So, with your blessing, I think we'll pass that along and tell her she's hired.
Yeah, I'm good. Yep.
Yeah. Trust your judgment. You know what you need.
You gotta go see, Debbie to get paper, to get paid.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, we did that before with Carrie, same thing.
So you gotta buy a Mariella from a new edition
She
already.
kind of refused it.
Yeah, I see that. Reluctantly, she took it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
continue to be told, you're not gonna do anything about it, that's not doing anything.
Right.
So, I don't know, I mean, hopefully, you know, with a restraining order and going to court, it comes to a point, but if it takes a while, it would be nice if Sheriff, Joyce could talk to his deputies a little bit. I mean, that's sort of, I understand it's maybe not like a state law or county law, but it's a town ordinance, I mean, something that is illegal going on, we wouldn't be going for it, right?
Right.
The officer that I'm talking said that until he physically goes to court before the judge, their hands are tied.
Right.
They will take the report and they'll file it, but there's nothing they can do.
Okay, the information that people were funneling me was that, deputies were simply saying, not doing anything, there is nothing illegal going on.
This officer told me he drive down by, he see that something.
All depends on who you get.
Right.
Just like going to a fire for the day.
And that's why.
You have no idea what you're gonna get.
And that's why I emailed Sheriff Joyce.
Yeah.
And he answered me right back.
Okay.
I think the procedure would be is, once the court gets that, approves it, they issue a, restraining, yeah. And if he does it after that, it would be a violation of, yeah. And then he'll be in trouble then, he'll be, yeah.
They have to show me that they will shut it down when it gets to, we just
Yeah.
need to have that.
Yeah.
And that's quicker to get, so we've also filed all the paperwork for the whole legal.
Yeah. So, yeah, we were told once too that, Cumberland County deputies cannot enforce our ordinance. That's why I was surprised. I heard that one deputy told you that they would do it, but that kind of surprised me. Really, that came,
Some are willing to do more than others.
yeah,
It's just how it is.
and that came from Sheriff's Office.
The court case will take away, the restraining order, if together will be one.
Yeah, right.
And that's why we're trying to go with it.
So to shut them down in the meantime.
Exactly.
All right, and then? Don, you got anything else?
I'm fine, thank you.
Kathy?
The library did fairly well. We had a lot of competition, a lot of events going on at the same time, so we didn't have the turnout that we had hoped. Came in with a little over $500, which is kind of half what we wanted. But, yeah, do what you can. I got a bunch of old books in case anybody wants to take a look through. And, try to find new homes for that. We'll just, try it again next year, see what happens. Shopping guy didn't cooperate with 2 ads, they took in 1, but not the other one. One was last Wednesday, so, oh well, do what you can.
Yeah, that's why there's such a low turnout.
Yeah,
Yeah.
did you guys do well with the food?
No, we only made $50.
That's
Yeah. But after we put in $100 from the auxiliary, and I put 50 in myself,
right.
and we did, yeah, we only did $50 worth of food. And, yeah.
Wow, that's surprising. Oh, well,
Yeah.
it didn't rain.
No, really not.
No, I'm doing well, thank you.
Yeah, I forgot to mention, planning board's having some trouble, notifying abutters,
Yeah.
because, I think we no longer have a post office that says through dark of night and rain, and they don't do that anymore. Because they can't hire anybody to go through the snow that we've had this last week.
Yeah.
And, I just wanna mention it, maybe when somebody talks to the town lawyer, you can ask, what is adequate notification if the post office won't do it? We're putting ads in the paper, we're doing everything we should. We're gonna have a second public hearing because we're trying to be as legal as we can, because people are coming in, I didn't get a notification, I'm in a butter. and they're upset, and I'm upset. So,
We did the right thing and the snail mail was up to its name.
yeah, so just to make you aware that this is an issue, it's probably a countrywide issue.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Chad, you have anything?
No.
Gary?
No, I don't, thank you for asking.
You got anything else?
No, I think sure.
Robin, you got anything?
No, thank you.
Bob? Okay. I'm all set. And let's see. Executive session, I will be select board going to executive session. And what can we do?
Yes,